Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Vet Chats, where we help veterans share their awesome stories and make the veteran community a better place. Quick reminder, if you are a female veteran who has ever served in California or is currently serving, or if you've ever lived in California and you're now living elsewhere, please take the California Female Veterans Survey. The California VA is putting this survey out to hear the voices of women veterans to help improve their facilities for female veterans. The link is in my bio. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. This is something I'm really passionate about, is getting more data on women veterans because we are very under-researched and we need to make our facilities better for us, and we need to make the systems that we're in better for us because we are the fastest growing population of veterans and we need these systems to reflect that. So I'm really excited to dive into this topic today because it's something I talk about with my husband a lot. As he's in his first civilian workplace outside of the military, he comes home and he'll have different complaints about people he works with, and we kind of talk about why we have those. And it's led me to discover a lot of key things that we just clash with our civilian counterparts at work. And I read a lot of comments or in the groups that one of the biggest frustrations for you guys is dealing with lazy civilians. So are they just lazy, or is there a disconnection that we're having? I'm not going to be able to give you all the answers in this episode, but I really hope that I can point out things and help you understand why you may be frustrated with these people that you work with. So first, we're going to talk about the nuances of military culture that are very different from normal society. Okay, let's start with a big one, which is pretty obvious, and that's the hierarchy and the chain of command that we have in the military. It's a very rigid system with an expectation of respect due to rank. There are similar scenarios in the civilian world, but there just might not be as strict, and there's really not that level of utmost respect for those positions. So when you start working in the civilian world, you may feel awkward around your bosses or professors because they are above you, like they are supposed to be in charge of you, or you're supposed to listen to them. But it also feels weird to conversate with them when, in the military, you couldn't really be chummy with your bosses. I mean, fraternization was actually something you could get in trouble for. So this is totally normal, and you just have to realize what you're doing, why you're doing it, and it's okay to feel that way, and you'll definitely get over it as time goes on. I guess that one's not really clashing, but you could also feel like your boss should be someone that you respect and you expect a lot more out of them, and then you feel confused when they're not like your military bosses. But I guess we had bad bosses in the military too, so it all depends. It's just something I've always felt awkward with. I'm like, can I go ask them for help? Or am I jumping the chain of command here? What's the lowest level? You're kind of still in that mindset, and sometimes it is okay. It probably is okay to just ask for help. Sense of purpose is a big one that really clashes with civilian life. Veterans may look at work tasks or even life tasks as a mission, and this mission is usually clear and it is the priority. It's something that we need to get done as soon as we can. And the civilian world just doesn't work like that. And it can be frustrating because we feel like our coworkers are just being lazy or inefficient and they're wasting time. And I've talked to a lot of people in our group, and they just don't understand why civilians don't have that sense of urgency. Why can't we get this done now? Why are there so many hang-ups when I'm trying to get stuff done? And it's not that we didn't have that in the military, but a lot of times in the civilian world, things aren't as mission critical as they were in the military. So you just need to kind of adjust your time commitment with your job. If you're trying to get things done, understand that things might be a slower pace, and that's hard, especially if you're coming back from an environment in the military that was really fast paced, and now you might have more idle time. But you're going to find out ways to work with this, but just knowing that that's why you're frustrated is the first step. Like I said, I don't have the answers here, but I can just point things out that may help you reframe your current situations. Another thing is camaraderie, because the military bonds us, and we have that sense of loyalty with people that we work with, and it's something that we feel like we're never going to find again, especially in a workplace. And that's because the connections formed in the military are often automatic because you have the same background. You all went through boot camp. You all went through the same type of training, so you feel bonded with them already. You have a lot of things in common. And these are made even stronger through further intense experiences. In the Facebook group, we have a lot of conversations about how to make friends, or, how to work with coworkers, or, just have that sense of team that you had while you were serving. And I just don't think that our civilian counterparts, I don't think they can offer that because they just don't understand it. And you're probably not likely to go through some intense experiences like you did in the military that are really going to bond you and make you put everything aside because you gotta do this mission, you gotta do this deployment or something like that. So we gotta remind ourselves that it's not going to be the same thing with our coworkers, and that's okay. It doesn't mean that we still can't have friendships and other relationships that are meaningful. So the next one is world experience. Many veterans have deployed, or you've at least lived somewhere besides your hometown. And we've met people from all corners of the country, and we're exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds. And that is just not the norm for most of society. I mean, some people end up staying in the same state or even the same county most of their lives. They're not going to be able to relate to someone who has had that experience outside of town, or they just don't relate to your worldview, really. It doesn't mean that they don't care to hear about your experiences. I'm sure a lot of people would, but they just can't relate to them, and they don't know how to add to them. So it can be frustrating to work with people who look at things from the same mindset because they've lived in the same place their whole lives, and they've just only heard opinions from those around them, to try to convince them or just even relate to them about other things in the world, because they just can't. This is where you just gotta kind of say, hey, I'm not gonna change your mind. You don't have to argue about it. Just let them be in their bubble that they've been in, because we're also coming out of a bubble, right? Like, we're also learning that the military isn't how the world works. So yeah, just kind of let that one go. I think that also can help you be more grateful for your experiences, and being able to say, someone from across the country, or people around the world. And I think, just meeting people that don't have that experience makes you grateful for the one that you have. In the military, you are surrounded by people who are within certain physical standards and also certain age standards. There is a lot of diversity in the armed forces, but when it comes to physical differences, everyone's pretty much in the same parameters. Like, they have to be physically fit, they have to be within certain age ranges. So it can be awkward at first when you're interacting with your new coworkers that could now be over double your age. There have been a few people in the group that just get frustrated because they work with older people, boomers, and you probably never worked with them before. I mean, maybe in high school or something you did, but you just don't work with a lot of older people in the military, so it can be hard to find things that you have in common, or even just, their worldview is way different than yours, so it can be frustrating to hear them upset about things, or when they want to give their opinion on the military, and it's like, hey, you don't even know that world, like, I'd rather you not. I know I've had some tough conversations at work because I was being treated like I was a kid out of high school, and of course didn't appreciate that. So I had to remind them, like, this isn't my first job. Sure, it's my first job out of the military, but I have experience, and you don't need to hold my hand. And I'm glad I had that conversation. Yeah, it was tough, but it doesn't mean that they are bad people. They just don't have a way of understanding that my experience unless I open my mouth and say something. So just feel free to say that, depending on the situation, of course. Sometimes it may be better to just let it go, not interact, and just know what topics you should avoid, honestly. So I know there are more reasons, and these are just a few I thought of, and I thought they may help you understand why you get frustrated with others. as it does us no good to just label them as lazy civilians, but it really helps to consciously understand the differences and give the situation, give yourself, give your coworkers a little grace for all of those friction points. I hope this helped you see things at your workplace a little differently, and I would love to hear your comments. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon.